Welcome to the Dental Handoff. I'm Dr. Kelly Tanner, and today I have with me Joanne Jones, who I have met several times in passing. Joanne, it's like, hey, Joanne. Hey, Joanne. It's so lovely to have you on the show today.
Oh, what a pleasure. It is a gift to be here.
Oh, thank you. And it's those moments, you guys, where Joanne and I were talking back in the green room about nothing is by chance. There is no coincidence in life. It is there all constructed for you. And I believe that this is one of those interviews. So Joanne, why hygiene? Did it choose you? Did you choose it?
Why hygiene? Okay, let's start out big. Let's get right to the core of everything.
Do it.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Why hygiene? Well, I think I was extremely focused. I don't know whether you can relate to this, and I've read a little bit about your story, so I think you may. I was laser focused, excuse the pun, but I ended up instructing in lasers later on in my career, but laser focused on being a flight attendant, a stewardess, actually 50 years ago is what they were called, a flight attendant, putting together my portfolio for the Ontario College of Art at the time, wanted to go into art of some different type of media, or a dental hygienist. So as you can see, I was laser focused on what I wanted to do. I didn't have a clue. But then my mother took me. My mother had actually worked in dental offices for many, many years and took me to an open house at the university. And hygiene at that time, it was a newer career, and it was something that really, really appealed to me. I knew that I had streamlined it down at that point. I knew I wanted to be in healthcare. I wanted to be serving the public, and I wanted to make a difference somehow in people's lives. So nursing was also another big interest. But nursing, I knew I was going to have a family one day and have children, and I didn't like the hours and all of that. So in the mind of an 18-year-old, that's where I was at. Yeah.
Gotcha. So what surprised you about becoming a hygienist, do you think? Like what didn't you anticipate?
Yeah. Well, the first day kind of blew me away. And I'm surprised I went back the second day. Because remember in school, like in university, in the clinic, we had like 12 to 16 hours to complete a patient.
Mm-hmm.
And the first day I remember going into practice, and I looked at, and I'd met everybody. I was comfortable with my treatment room. I had seen the setup and everything, but I looked at the schedule and I was like, is this some cruel joke of God above? Like I have 8 or 10 patients with my name at the very top of it, printed off and taped to my make ready area. And I thought, oh my gosh, how on earth? Like I can't even do a medical history update in less than half a day. So how on earth am I going to get through these 10 patients? And I remember my employer, who was a real card, God love him. He's passed away a number of years ago, but over the divider from his room to mine, he shot with the air water syringe water and soaked me on the top of the head while I was working. And then he came in at the end and he said, I just wanted to inject a little bit of humor in your day. Get over yourself, get in there, do your best. And that's all that's expected of you. You don't have to be perfect. And Kelly, I'm going to ask you something. What is one of our key traits?
Oh, perfection. I mean, we can't. Yeah. And so he was right on the money.
Yeah.
He was right on the money.
We need to give ourselves grace, the grace that we give to everyone else. That is one of my biggest messages to your listeners, because I know what draws us into this profession. I know those traits, and we're really, really hard on ourselves.
We really are. And, we don't learn how to love on ourselves and give ourselves the same, like you said, to your point, the same grace that we give others. And when we're having this internal dialogue of, come on, you need to go faster. Why can't you do that? You missed something. That the patient's going to know that you left stain on the distal buckle of number 14, all the things we tell ourselves, and people don't even know the difference, that it's okay. It's okay. I tell the story sometimes when I'm presenting that I feel like the first 6 months I missed probably the distal of 14 on all of my patients because I wasn't using the Gracie or wasn't using the right. And so I found it when they came back. I'm like, man, who saw them before? Before
Oh,
me? And I
no.
was like, oh, it's me.
Recurring nightmare.
And I'm like, okay, lesson learned. And no, nothing really happened because of it. But I
Yeah.
love that you said that. So you went on to do clinical hygiene after you graduated. You got
Yes.
you breathed through your first day, and then
Yeah.
where did your journey take you after that?
Well, my journey, I guess I could sum it up the best way by simply saying that adversity leads to empowerment. And some people would argue with me. I know they would. But in my case, there were no truer words. I was just thinking about a day that I had in my practice. And again, giving ourselves grace. And I really, like you, like your listeners, I really lost myself in my practice. It was my oasis. It was my opportunity that no matter what was going on in my personal life, I was able to kind of get away from it and lose myself in it. And I had a number of patients I was very, very fond of. But one particular day, I was going through a really difficult marriage, my first marriage. And I have second marriage, 30 years now with a wonderful partner in life and couldn't ask for more. But this particular day, there was a knock on our door and we were having severe financial issues. And I should have warned you, I'm totally transparent. I never hide anything because
Good.
this is how we help one another. Like
Yeah.
let's throw off the facade. And people look at your life, they look at my life, they look at other lives, they think, oh, it's probably perfect. And it's
No.
not. Nobody has a perfect life, but we learn from all these things. We grow. I don't ever want to have an unscathed life.
Mhm.
Anyways, this knock comes to my door, a rundown little farmhouse that we had. And it was my patient from 2 days before who also worked for Hydro. And I opened the door. I said, Mark. And he said, Joanne? He said, oh, he said, this is so painful. He said, you haven't been paying your bills. I'm here for collections. And the threat was that we would lose our Hydro. It was horrible. My children
Your
were very
water.
young. Yes, very,
Oh,
very, very young. And electricity. Yeah, it was all tied in.
okay. Oh, wow.
And I said, you can't do that. Please, please, if you can just cut me some slack. Anyway, I want to fast forward. That was one of the beginning and turning points. That marriage did end. I had to have the courage to move away. And I went into my practice. And this is what I want to say to people that are going through a difficult time right now. Use your practice not as that place that you go into and you rehash and you talk about what is troubling you in life. Use it as your opportunity to shed that off and walk in and be vibrant and give out good energy. And you'll get so much back that is so healing and strengthens you so that when you have to walk into your home at the end of the day and all those problems are still there for you, you have been strengthened and energized by the people that you have communicated with. That was my biggest help. But I think the real turning point for me came, and again, I love to share this because I know there are many people that have been in the same situation, maybe in the wrong office and not knowing what to do about it. And sometimes, if you want to say the universe, if you want to say God, whatever your beliefs and faith may allow you to accept, God moved me out of that office. The office manager came in one day and she said, I want you to work every evening. And I was in a new relationship. At this point, I had been officially divorced, in a new relationship, young children, and it just wouldn't work for me to be working every night. But I said, hey, like we could work independently in our province. And I said, hey, what about if I come in really super early in the morning and meet all those people pre-business wise and do that? Anyways, didn't work out. Long story short, I was fired. I was let go.
Because you said no.
The office manager was the wife of the dentist. I'm not saying that's a bad thing, so don't anybody
Just was
start
attacked in this case.
commenting.
Yeah.
But it was just the circumstances in this particular case. Anyway, I clearly had a lot of time on my hands at this point. I had no job. So I called my mom and I said, hey, Mom, I know you're going through a really tough time. My stepfather was, he had about 6 or 7 weeks to live. So there's a very empowering story that goes with this. So I don't want anybody to feel like we are funneling downward at this point. There is an uplifting story to this. Anyway, I said, may I help you out? Can I help you out? That was my reason for the call. Instead, a very foreign voice got on the phone and then passed the phone to somebody else, asked me who I was. I said, I'm Marilyn's daughter. My mom was looking after my stepfather at this point in time, and their home was set up like a hospice. And all of a sudden I hear in the background, the coroner's here. And I froze. Like I thought, oh my gosh, what on earth is going on? I thought my stepfather had passed, obviously. But no, my mother was found the night before. She'd had a massive heart attack and was found the next morning by the caregiver. And she had passed at, it feels like a young age now to me. She was only 74, which is still young.
It is.
I spent the next 6 weeks almost every day with my stepfather. And he said, what are you going to do with your life? I said, well, I clearly need a job. And he said, no, what's your dream? If you knew you couldn't fail, what would you do?
Yes.
I said, I've never thought about that. He said, well, go home, come back tomorrow. He had a caregiver that came in and did the other things for him. He said, go home and come back tomorrow. I want to know what your dream is. Nobody ever did that with me. Nobody ever took the time to say to me, what's your dream? And that's something I would say to every one of you that's listening. Write down your dream, manifest it. If fear wasn't an option, or failure, if failure wasn't an option, what would you attempt to do? And what did I decide to do? I said to him, I want to empower my colleagues. I want them to take their rightful place as a regulated healthcare professional and know that every life they interact with, they can improve the quality, but also the quantity of life. There is a huge opportunity for us out there, and the gratification is like nothing you could. And I know I'm speaking to the choir to you, Kelly, obviously with your career path and what you've done and how you've empowered colleagues. That's your day-to-day mission. But you know how that feels. And we can touch lives and we can change lives. And I think we lose that in the perfectionism, the control, the grace we're not giving to ourselves.
Yeah. It's a choice.
Yeah.
It's a choice. It's to honor ourselves and, like you said, show up to your operatory, your corporate position, your wherever you're walking into every day, to spread the joy. And it may sound woo-woo to some of you, but I tell you, when you go in and you change your mind, when you change your mind, it changes your mind because it changes everything. And there is no money that could be paid to you for the difference you're making.
Exactly. So well said. So how did I become a speaker? So anyway, the government at the time had a retraining program called Consulting as a Career Option. And you had to have a set number of years in a particular expertise, particular area of focus in your life. And they ruled that I was fired. My employer's wife said that I quit. Anyway, the course became open to me. First person I met was someone that introduced me, and talk about serendipitous, to another speaker who was looking for a trainer. And the gentleman that opened the door for me was the sales rep that I knew for 30 years in the practice I had been working in. And it was just, I said, what are you doing here? He said, what are you doing here? And we were both going up to the same meeting. So it was so cool. But what I want to say, and this was just so cool in life beyond, knowing this particular person, but take fear off. What have you got to lose? Take a step of faith. What's the worst thing that can happen to you?
Yes.
So I walked into the office, and she happened to be someone that was quite local to me. Her name was Anita Jupp. She was a rock star in her era. She had spoken in 45 countries. She was a dental practice management consultant. And a lot of younger people don't know her name, but hopefully some of your listeners of different chronological enrichment, not being old, chronologically enriched.
Chronological enrichment. I love that.
It's a good one. Will know of Anita. And she just touched lives and just made people, she had a terrific sense of humor and just made people realize who they were in their profession. So I went in, I took a resume and I said, you don't have a dental hygienist on your team. And we know that the wheel of the practice evolves with the dental hygienist. So I'm here, like take a chance on me. What's the worst that can happen? So we ended up in Texas together. I think it was the Star of the South meeting or TDA or whatever. And out of the blue, she said, oh, I'd like to introduce my new associate. I'm like, what? Not me. Not me. No, it's not me. And she said, yes, you. And got me up on the stage. And there were about 400 people in the audience. And she started interrupting me constantly. So I reached over and I turned off her mic. I put my arm around her and she didn't know that I actually reached into her pocket and turned her mic off. And she went to talk at one point. I said, look, you asked me up here, give me a chance. So I don't know. It was just like it was meant to be, Kelly. I don't know. I never thought of doing this in my life, but it was meant to be. And when you say something and it's funny and people all laugh and you brought joy into their life that day, there's just nothing better.
Yeah. It's just a feeling that you have that ripple effect, that you've touched so many lives beyond the one-to-one, and you're making a true impact that carries on with those folks in the audience, because then they take it and they're being joyous, and so on and so on and so on.
Yeah.
So that's how your speaking career started.
Yeah.
All right. So from that, what happened? Like, did she ever realize that you turned off her mic, and were you scouted after that, or I have so many questions for you.
And we had a blast together, and we're still great friends. And as soon as this interview is available, I will share it with her right away, because I can't say enough about the start she gave me. She believed in me before I believed in myself. And that's another thing. And, even as a dental hygienist or a dental assistant or a dentist, we can believe in our patients. We can give them that confidence, even to believe in themselves, even if it's something as simple as their home care routine.
Right.
Just to say, we know you can do it, and take baby steps. And Anita was that way with me. We went to Vegas together. We did several programs in Vegas. I had Rod Stewart's limo driver. We had, so many fun memories. We went to England together. And then I ended up branching off and went back to England a few times, and Ireland and Bermuda and all over. It's been a fabulous, fabulous career that got redirected at one point in time through something that I observed. I could see that there was a growth trajectory towards a very atypical profile of head and neck cancer. And it was HPV related oropharyngeal cancer. And one of the biggest things that we had to realize is you need to take the stigma off of this. Like, quite often when I have an audience, I'll say, I throw them under the bus. Like, it's so fun. I just love it to say, how many of the audience are sexually active? And like, people look at me like I have 10 heads. They're like, what? Did she really say that? And there's always one that, puts their hand up right away and wants to.
Like, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, of course I am. But so, that's my point of we need to take the stigma off of it. And that's what our patients need to realize, that if you, and as professionals, if you are sexually active today, you are at risk for this type of cancer. So what happened is I started speaking about it. I immersed myself in research. I won't speak about something for the sake of a job or a new sponsor. I have to know my stuff. And I'm brutal on myself for that. And that's where that perfectionism comes in. And I need to say that message to myself again, to give myself grace, because I want to be there for my colleagues And if I don't know something, I'm the first to say, I don't know. That's okay. I'd be at the right hand throne of God if I knew everything. Like, that's okay. That's
Yeah.
vulnerability and being
That's right. It's
authentic.
integrity. It's
It
integrity.
is. It is. But I'll tell you what happened. It was a really ironic twist of fate, and it was so painful. My cousin got diagnosed with this same thing, late stage HPV tonsillar cancer. And the first thing she said, and I understood this stigma, how did I get this? I've been married to a wonderful man all these years. I love him dearly. We've been monogamous. How did this happen? But it takes 15 to 30 years to kind of sit in there and gradually morph itself into an oncogenic or cancerous lesion. It can take
Hmm.
forever and ever. So there's no way of telling, oh, I got it from this person, and it happened then. We don't know. And
Right.
these are some of the things that I have really spent my career really focused on educating professionals about this and about the vaccine. We can prevent almost 100% of future HPV related cancers with the vaccine. That's
Yeah.
huge. But anyway,
Yes.
16 months later, my cousin passed, and it was horrible.
Wow, Joanne. So
Yeah.
I'm so sorry to hear that.
In
And
her 40s, fitness trainer.
I guess when you say stigma, I never thought about that as a stigma, but I can see now that you've said it, and this is how conversations happen, is that you hold the
Mhm.
space to hear what someone else's perspective is, and you learn and you grow and you think, wow, there's a bias around that, a bias that we don't even realize that we might have about
Yes.
something. And so are we asking about it? So Joanne, in your career and speaking, what can you share one of the like most special moments
Mhm.
in your
Yeah, I
career?
can. I can in my career. I mean, there's very special moments in my life. But if I look at my career, it has to be this one. In 2015, we had the mega session for RDH under one roof. And we had the
Mm.
Northern Heat dancers, and we had a choreographed song to Taylor Swift, Shake It Off, and we ended up having a wonderful interview with an oral cancer survivor. And I had one of your past interviewees, Kathleen Bacrossi, my bestie, was also on the panel, and Maria Goldie, and it was just fabulous. It was so much fun. But anyway, the next year, I went to RDH Under One Roof. I wasn't speaking that year. I love going as a participant. It's a great meeting, and went in and for the mega session. And I was running late. I feel bad. The speaker hadn't started yet, but I got to the door and I said, "Is there a seat anywhere?" And I don't want to disturb anybody. Like, just put me at the back or whatever. And they said, "There's one seat left," and it was a full house. So they put me in this seat. I sat down, put my purse under my chair, and I looked sideways and I said hi and whatever. And this colleague beside me, she said, "Oh, you're Joanne Jones." And I said, "Yes." And "Who are you?" So she introduced herself. She said, and she got all teared up. She said, "I can't believe you are sitting beside me." Well, there's no coincidence in life, as you alluded to earlier. And she said, "I heard you last year. My mother," and she said, "You saved my mother's life." I'll cut to the chase because maybe I don't have time to share the whole story right now. But she said, "My mother had this abnormal lesion on the side of her tongue and had it checked out, and everybody said it was fine. She'd had it checked out 2 or 3 times, and it was a watch and wait. And after what you said last year, because we had a focus with our interviewee who was a survivor with a very powerful story, and we talked about subtle symptoms and critical anatomical areas that we do not watch and wait." And she said, "I went back after that and I said, Mom, this is not going to be something we watch and wait." And it turned out it was in fairly early stages. There was
Mm.
some lymph node involvement, but early stage. And they were able to treat it. And she said, "I have my mom because of you."
Oh,
And that
Joanne.
that meant so much. It just brought it full circle to, yeah, this is what I do. Yeah, the travel's hard, the flights and the delays are, you know what it's like. The hotel rooms are dry, blah, blah, blah. We sound like a princess here. I sound like a princess saying that, but travel does take a lot out of you. But the
Yes.
reward of hearing something like that, because it's so not about me, it's about changing lives, empowering our colleagues to save lives. It's huge.
So because you said to yourself, what could be the worst thing that could happen? Because you said to yourself and thought to yourself, what does Joanne really want out of her life? And, if money didn't matter, if nobody's opinion mattered, if no one said it was a bad idea, what would you do? You're saving lives. And I encourage our listeners right now, if you have not done this reflection in your life, it is life changing for you and for everyone around you. Joanne, you're a testament to this. And I want to say that everyone that I coach, that I counsel, when they make these changes in their life, even as little as they can be, that 1% difference of what they're doing to get there, you don't have to have it all figured out. You don't
No,
have to have it all figured out. It's just taking a small step in the direction to even be the silent observer in your life, right? To say, am I
exactly.
acting, am I acting like what I want in my life? Am I the person today who I want to show up as if this is my dream? And
Yeah.
when you take those small steps, it changes your life. And so I think Joanne, you and I are here to encourage people to do it scared, right? Just like you said, you did it scared. You had no idea what you were doing. You gave yourself grace. You're saving people's lives. You have lived and are living a very fulfilled career that has no ceiling, does it?
No, it really doesn't. It's only limited by our lack of trust. Um, I always say manifest your life. If it's faith that drives you, be specific in your prayer requests. Build your confidence in the fact that there is an opportunity there for you and that your life has a purpose. Whatever it may be, just step out. Can I share one more thing? I know
Please.
we're probably talking and it's time to shut it down, but this is an older book and I'm sure you're very familiar with it, but The Four Agreements.
My favorite book. My
That is no surprise.
favorite.
So I just
Yeah.
want to talk about the four agreements, very high level overview, but be impeccable with your word. If you're working with a team, say what you mean what you say, give good energy out there. Say, be authentic, have integrity. Don't get caught up in the gossip. That is the worst thing that we can do. The second one, don't take anything personally. People's reactions are their history. It's what they have gone through in their lives, and have the intelligence to be able to say, okay, I I understand possibly where you're coming from, but almost like a motivational interviewing, which leads me to the next one. Don't make assumptions. And that is critical because it's so easy with a team member to just end up like just so riled up because somebody has said something to you that's very painful, very upsetting. That's where we need to really have the courage as a human being, be a bit vulnerable and put yourself out there and say, I think what you're trying to say, or what I understand that you're trying to communicate, or I understand that, we're not seeing this eye to eye, but maybe perhaps there's a compromise. Don't do the end run to the office manager or go around them or gossip or talk about them. Have the courage to face it right on with the
Yes.
person. That
Yes.
eliminates so much drama in your life, and so much stress. And the last one, the one that I think is so important to us as dental hygienists, dental team members, is what draws us in again, is that perfectionism. Always do your best, and your best is going to differ from day to day. I could do
Right.
this interview with you on another day and think, man, my energy was really low. Or I could do this interview with you on another day and think, wow, okay, my energy was exactly where it needed to be. Stop beating ourselves up and look at how wonderfully gracious we are to other people and start to give yourself that grace, as I mentioned earlier.
Preach, sister, preach. And I love I loved all of what you said. And an example of what I was thinking too, to go directly to the source. And I have a feeling I'm going to be seeing a lot more of you with interviews. I don't know, just my intuition. But when you go to someone else and you talk to them about something that you perceive as potential conflict, it's a gift to them. It's a gift so they can understand how they are, how it is all, how you're interacting with them. I was going to say
Yeah.
sometimes people don't realize how they are. You don't realize how you are. So when you come together with that person directly, they go, "Oh, I didn't realize I was doing that." And then you
Yes.
go, "Oh, I didn't realize that you thought that I was doing that." And it's a
Yes.
gift, you guys, every single time that happens like that. Now, the conversation isn't always that simplistic or easy, but it's through that direct conversation that you honor that other person and who they
So
are as a
true.
human.
So
So
true.
Joanne,
Honor.
I am just so thank you. You've left me elevated, just
Wonderful.
inspired, and I am so grateful for your message and all that you are doing. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. So anyway, you guys, if you want to get more of Joanne, her information is in the show notes. I want more of Joanne in my life. So to all of our listeners, I always ask the favor of to go onto Apple Podcast and give the Dental Handoff a 5-star rating, because that's what brings us up in the ranks. I appreciate you doing that. And then also go on over to YouTube if you're watching this on YouTube. Like, subscribe, share. Go ahead and press it right now, because the algorithm shares it with other people who may be interested in other interviews like this. So thank you for all that each of you do to touch the lives that you do every day. And we're always here, and we will see you back. Joanne, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Kelly. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Yes, we'll see you soon, Joanne. Take care, my friends.
Oh, bye.